you would have had local, global, and you would have been able to see exactly where to take your entries on POE here. Even going to the 4 hour, maybe there's a 4 hour hold in here. No, it will be an hourly. That's too long of a time frame. So as this moves up, you would even have the hold level right here, right? So it holds this on the hourly, and you'll see where it actually, in all actuality, it would have held this first, which it did, and then once that breaks down and it loses its uptrend, it would have held that. And this would have been the uptrend here that it needs to hold. So once it loses this uptrend, it breaks this hold move right here. So once it loses this uptrend, it breaks the hold move, so it breaks this, right? If we actually just step through this, kind of show you guys what I'm looking at for trends and levels on POE. Right, at first you identify the two hold levels. Like these are very simple. This isn't greedy enough, I feel. This is. So in this case, you set your buy at 68 or 67 sats, whatever you feel comfortable taking the risk on there. This simply comes and rejects the inverse level inside of here. Creates trend right here. That's where trend gets created, which is not a close of the valley up here. Test that first hold through trend, tries to have its move up, really can't. That was pretty much the looking like the finale of the move. Looks like it just actually hit the inverse, which is telling you the move is going down, right? Oops, let's redo that. Right, when we test this inverse, it tells you that the move is going down. It has to first test the inverse, but then it also has to hold its local trend, which can be found right here. So it actually has to hold this trend and break over that to target its value that brought it there, which at a minimum is right here at 80 sats. It just actually loses trend. Right there. So that's how we got there, right? Which then you adapt this trend to here. You have your next hold level. So this we can delete because this is already invalidated. This is the next hold. Like this would be your next spot to buy right through trend, which happens. It looks like it tries to distribute and it rejects off of trend, creating trend. This actually did close out its valley, right? We can actually delete that. Just move this out to here. That will be the next break point. It does, right? Then that will be next. Off of trend, which happens right there. And now it's trying to ladder up. Now we are looking at that global level, which is basically the same thing as the local here. Now the local, this is that point in time where you're making that handshake agreement, right? That kind of that duality of events happening, and even beyond that, you would have the level right here that needs to break. The actual valley itself that needs to break before this thing can move up. So you're kind of creating this larger part of this move right now. Oops. Yeah, nice and thin. Holding up trend, testing the top side of trend here. So I mean, Poe looks like it's about to break out, but no guarantees, right? Like you definitely want to see it, like where you're taking your entry. This one's pretty tough because you've already hit this hold level here. You've already held this. It's actually not tough. This is like a buy it now or don't get involved kind of thing. This one has already been validated. This is being validated right now. So we're laddering up off these holds into the global trend right now. And so we can even just delete this trend. It's not even relevant. This is the value that we need to break. And we are currently laddering. So I mean, Poe could be very explosive today. This doesn't mean it's an automatic buy, but it does mean that it could be very explosive. POE could have a move up to 26% today, which is that's where I'd be selling. But I'm not so anxious to enter right now at the top of its range because there's kind of a polarity that's happening right now, right? So you are either going to this line here, you are either going to break up and over it in a big way, or you are going to reject it in a big way. So if you were to just look at it as a decision of buy or not buy, a 50-50 roll the dice, and you knew nothing about the technicals, you've got a 50% chance to go up, 50% chance to go down. So statistically, this is not a great buy. Rather, this is because it's first tested. This is not in a moment where you're forcing failure. If you are going to break over this and volume comes in, I would much rather buy at 84 sats to sell the level than to take the risk here and possible failure. Because once I know that it breaks the level here, there's confirmation that it's moving up. It's like even if it's to this level, you want to be really safe and you just want to say, okay, to the swing, fine. So you buy right here, and you have 10%, a 13% trade, which is great, as opposed to buying right now and potentially be buying into failure. If you buy on this side, you know it's success. Meanwhile, this is not an ideal spot to buy either because it's actually late entry on the trade. The proper entry would have been here at 75 on the first touch, and then when the valley hits again to resell the second, the first test of this valley, to buy a second time on this whole level would have made sense. So it's a little bit late entry on POE. Is it going to break up? Yeah, but well, actually not guaranteed. But then even when it breaks up, the level is not. It's not so far up that it's just going to be a guaranteed move. Like I think that's part of the decision why people aren't getting in this right now is because there isn't a ton here. Like there's more likely where you're going to see the larger move in POE is where it kind of breaks this like this, comes up, tests this, and then swings out and creates the same moment in time that we're in right now. It creates it right here. This is better than this. This is where you're going to have the larger part of the move, is breaking this bigger trend. This is going to be fuel up to a pretty large move, up to there, 239 sats, which is realistic. It's these coins are all doing very similar things right now, like XVG, Sky, TMB. It's a lot of the same moves. So there's a bit of practice that comes in here with massaging through timeframes, just like I did here, to find the trends, and having this one marked from here to say here, or are you supposed to use this right here, or are you supposed to use this right here? Typically, you're going to use the initial. So where's my replayer here? You're going to use the initial candle like this. So that's kind of the point where you would pin it through. With that said, sometimes you are going to wick through them just because somebody decides to buy like crazy. Somebody might buy right at the top, right? You might have some guy with 4 Bitcoin be like, oh, this is the moment. He buys and he pushes it up another 1%, and then it kind of breaks trend in the future. As to where fractally, if you were to break this down to the, and what day is this, October 29th? So say you go to a 4 hour here, October 29th, you may have a few candles on the 29th, like even within here, even within here, you may have a few 15-minute candles that go up like that. So even if we break it down for 15, see if we can go back that far. You might not be able to. No, looks like that's it, February. So what's going to happen is you could have a few 15 or 5-minute candles in here that's showing you trend to here, to here, to here. But sometimes people will just push orders through. So for that reason, when you're on these higher time frames like this, there's a little bit of wiggle room or acceptance, I guess you would call it, just because you're on a higher time frame. And here's an example of it. You're on a higher time frame, but you can't necessarily see how many wicks went up and down in that time frame. So there's a bit of massaging through you have to do, like with this here, just simply starting by pinning it from the weekly to the weekly, like right here, from this to this right here, to get this longer term trend, 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 points of validation. So we know this is trend, like we can identify this as trend for sure. But then as you jump down into lower time frames, you'll find spots like this where the candle has to be massaged a bit because this is too low, this is too high, and this may just be the subject of, because that's still testing this trend, just like this was testing that trend. But if you actually zoom into this candle, you can see it goes a little higher, right? Like there's always that little bit of variance because there's always some guy who's buying at the top, and just like there's always some guy who's selling at the bottom. So even on like one of these backside trends like this. Like there's always people selling at the bottom, and then always people willing to take what they're trying to sell. Like right here, somebody selling on the bottom, and then you'd move this to here, and you'd move this to here, and then you have somebody right here who buys, which then you're moving, which then you're moving it like this, right? And that's not being touched. But there's always somebody who's willing to push the price down a little lower or willing to push the price up a little higher. So just for that reason, you have to kind of massage with these time frames a little bit, and you'll still get trend. Like you can validate trend on the larger time frames, but then when you're trying to minutely go through these, this is kind of that range where you have a little higher on one time frame, or sorry, a little higher on one time frame, a little lower on the other time frame.
Hey everyone, how's it going? As you know, I'm now giving out some of this content for free that I was otherwise charging for the past little while. Yeah, drop a donation, subscribe to the channel, join Patreon. You'll get access to Discord. Great way. Lots of top level traders in there, people who are doing this for a career every single day. So go to Patreon, join a tier, get access to Discord. Go on Reddit, talk about future of trading, talk about the science of trading, talk about cotton candy, socials, everything you can. Let's help this thing grow. It's the way you guys can thank me for giving out this content for free that I was otherwise charging money for. So I'll leave a Bitcoin address on the screen. I'll leave the Patreon address on the screen. Just do something to help out. Okay, thanks guys. Take care.